ladies and gentlemen, to Las Vegas, Nevada, as we are in the Aria Resort and Casino in the PokerGo studio for the Vainglory Premier League Summer Open Championship Sunday. It has all come down to this. And as we kick off our opening rise, it's time to talk about our finalists. My name is Munchwalls. I'm joined by Tasty Bacon as we kick off our games today.
Yeah, absolutely cannot wait to get underway. We are going to crown a champion today. It all comes down to this.
All of that prize money everyone's been playing for is finally up for grabs. The last best of threes that these teams will play in the tournament are about to commence. And let's take a look at the best of threes that are coming your way across the course of today. We're kicking things off with Queso versus Rising Lotus to decide our third place. But then we're into our championship game at 10 a.m. It's going to be Clash going up against Sly. Later on, we'll jump into our North American game starting at midday. It'll be Team Ferox up against Vision Gaming, and then we'll have our championship between Tribe Gaming and Nova at around 1 p.m.
Yeah, it's gonna be an action-packed day of games, but it's all about the championship. It's all about Clash versus Sly. You can see the route that these teams have taken to get to this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Clash have been fantastic so far in this tournament. They've made it through to the finals, and rightly so. This is a team that coming straight on into the tournament, everyone expected them to be in the finals. And one of the players on that roster that was the reason that they are so revered is I'm the Doom. This guy is an in-game god.
Yeah, and you know, when you talk about Clash, everyone always immediately talks about Leon. I'm the Doom kind of gets pushed to the side a little bit in those discussions, but you cannot forget about him because he is a stellar playmaker and has been playing these carries exceptionally well. You saw in that graphic 702 gold per minute for an individual.
Averaged over 6 games. Those stats are up to date, including yesterday's game. So 700 gold per minute is a fantastic score for an individual game. Never mind an average over 6 games. The guy is a monster. And if you allow Kensei through the draft, I mean, you're signing your own death warrant.
Yeah, I would be shocked if Kensei gets through the drafts today. But if he does get through, obviously I'm the Doom phenomenal with, but he can play so many other heroes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But the big story for the finals, honestly, for me, is Sly. They made a huge upset yesterday. We can take a look at our Rockstar rewind of that happening because in the early game, no one was expecting this crazy aggression out of Sly. They took it to Queso and surprised everyone coming on in. And I'm curious to see if they're going to be able to keep that momentum going into our grand finals today. We can take a look at how that's changed our predictions as well, because yesterday, I didn't even have Sly in my top 3. Now they're guaranteed at least second place.
Yeah, at least I had them in the top 3 yesterday, but they surprised us both by taking down Queso and have caused us both to agree for once on our predictions. I think this is the first time all summer open that we've been in agreement.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, at least I was, so far, if my predictions are correct, at least I was correct on the first place going into yesterday. So I guess I win on that one by default because Greg didn't invite me to the right team.
But you didn't even have Sly on your list and they're in the finals. So I think I win that one. But either way, it's not about us. It's about Clash and Sly going head to head. I mean, Clash, I think coming into this one, still very much the favorites going up against Sly. But again, Sly showed us yesterday that they can cause upsets. They can take down top teams. We'll see if they can do it again today.
That's the most important thing to talk about here is going into the finals, Sly is definitely the underdog. Nobody is going to, sugarcoat that. They're absolutely the underdog. But they were yesterday too. And yes, Hundo didn't play for Queso. That's always going to be a caveat on that series. But that doesn't take away from the fact that Sly played that series incredibly well. It wasn't that they just happened to get a win there. They dominated those games and they controlled the early game beautifully. It was a full 3-game series. And I guarantee they learned a lot in that series as well, going up against a team as strong as Queso.
Yeah, but at the same time, Clash, they were able to watch those games. They were able to, maybe pick apart a few things from Sly because Queso did still pick up a game against Sly. So there's things that Clash watching could have picked up and been like, okay, this is how we need to play if we're going to be able to prevent Sly from getting this upset. And I think that early game is going to be so crucial because if Sly goes as aggressive as they did early on and Clash is able to answer and able to meet them and get kills in the jungle, then this could be over very quickly.
That's where things get scary. And honestly, talking about this series, when you look at Clash, when you look at the drafts, it's going to be difficult to predict what this team is going to do. First of all, they love to swap roles in game, so immediately it's difficult to predict who's going to go where and what they're going to play. But second of all, they've been playing things like the Kensei, which you have to ban coming on in, but then it's like, okay, what does I'm the Doom play? I don't know, because he plays Kensei every game. So it's like...
They've also been really good at, they've frequently thrown away their bans to make sure that there are numerous power picks open and available for them. Because they're basically, every game they're going in and saying, you know what, you can take 2 power picks off the board, and we get our pick from the rest of the litters. So there's a lot of different strategies that they can still employ that we haven't seen from them yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I expect that the Clash playbook is honestly... What it feels like to me is they haven't really been tested yet this tournament. Clash, in every single matchup they've had, have looked like a dominant squad. They've looked pretty much uncontestable. And I mean, let's take a look at the opponents that they've had leading on through this tournament so far. Their way to the final, the path to the finals. Obviously, they started off with a bye. They were the first or second seed coming on into the whole tournament. Then 2-0 Great Inboxers, 2-0 Cyclone, and then yesterday 2-0 versus Rising Lotus. Rising Lotus is a good team, but Clash just waltzed through.
Yeah, absolutely. They have not lost a single game on their run to the finals, and they haven't lost a single game since partway through the preseason of VPL. They have been absolutely on fire ever since that match against Queso. Unfortunately for them, they're going to be a little upset they don't get that rematch against Queso now, perhaps, but they still can prove that they're the best. And here you can also see Sly's path to the finals now.
Absolutely. We can take a look at the path to the finals for Sly. They started off with a bite as well. They were a high seed in the tournament. I believe 3rd seed starting things off. 2-0 against Team GG. 2-0 against Fiery Tail. That was a pretty decent matchup as well. I was expecting Fiery to push that to 3 games. But then they rounded things out yesterday by upsetting Team Queso. And let's just take a moment to talk about that series because, obviously, Queso didn't quite look their former self. They didn't have Hundor with them, and it definitely affected their in-game coordination. But it wasn't even just that. Sly were being aggressive, but they were setting the tempo of the game. They were rotating in a way that, honestly, we hadn't seen from them in the past.
Yeah, again, it was, I talked a little bit yesterday about how they played a similar style to Queso, and that was what they did yesterday. They took Queso's style and said, we're just going to beat you at your own game, and that was exactly what they did. They went into the jungle early before these hard invades, the 4 or 5-man invades. That's something that we have seen Queso doing constantly in the games that they win, led by Tyrus. And Sly was just like, you know what? This is where you excel, is having Tyrus get these early leads to get these carries online. We're just going to negate that right off the bat by answering and playing with your own style against you. That was what made it so impressive to me.
And honestly, I'm excited to see what they're going to be able to do later on. But we have to start off today with our 3rd place decider match. Let's take a look at that matchup, presented, of course, by Playvig. It's going to be Queso going up against Rising Lotus. Now, coming into the weekend, we spoke to Bayou from Queso about the VPL as a tournament in general in our Razor Phone.
I'm pretty excited for our match. I'm pretty hyped, pretty pumped. I hope we're going to put up a good show and, yeah, just bring positive results. I want to thank the VPL for creating and making this event. Thank you. Also want to thank the casters and the desk. You guys really bring the hype and excitement, and you can really feel it in every match, and it's really good. Thank you.
Thank you to you as well, Bayou. And obviously, I'm sure he's very happy to thank the fans for being involved as well. Let's take a look at Queso's roster, though, coming on in today. It's going to be Techno JJ, Bayou, Palmatoro, Tyrus, and Hangman. The same roster that was playing yesterday. So, once again, you have to have that asterisk next to Team Queso because they don't have Hundor.
Yeah, at the same time, though, I still always feel like you need to be confident playing with your subs. But on the other side against them is going to be Rising Lotus with PT Lamb, Oswald, Mr. K Cool, Joey Skaggs, and Shibuka. This is a team that they have a chance to get themselves into the top 3 if they can pull off this victory against Queso. They raised a lot of eyebrows yesterday against Clash because even though they didn't win, they still looked pretty impressive in Game 2 especially.
Yeah, we can take a look at our updated stats as well. These are fresh from yesterday. The averages across the season so far, eliminations very heavily in favor of Queso, and also a lower turret count. I want to talk a little bit about the turret counts here, because in some ways more turrets can mean that you control the map better, but in other ways, if you have less turrets, it can also mean that you just end games faster.
Yeah, it's a little bit, it can be misleading depending on if you're in a game with someone who has won all their games, or when there's losses involved, it kind of skews things as well. But you know, like you said, if you're winning constantly and you don't have many turrets taken, it's because you are being just incredibly dominant and just running down a single lane. But it could also mean, like you said, that you're just being very, you know, risk averse and just saying, okay, we're going to take top lane, rotate the mid lane, rotate the bottom lane. So it's the turret one is a little bit misleading. You kind of have to make sure you watch the games to understand where the turret differential is coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's the case with all statistics, right? Any statistic can be taken out of context, so you have to be aware. But Queso, we know that low turret count is because they're pushing hard. And Rising Lotus, you know, I'm excited to see what they're going to be able to do in the series, because this is a team that, coming into the top 4, I feel like with a heavy underdog. I actually had them in my predictions yesterday to finish 3rd. I've changed that up because they're against Queso now. I thought that Sly was going to underperform this weekend. I did not expect them to be the powerhouse they are. So now Rising Lotus, they become the underdog once more. And I'm curious to see how similar they're going to play to yesterday, because, you know, against Clash yesterday, they really looked out of sorts.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the question mark is going to be, how can they perform knowing that Hundor is not in the lineup for Queso, because that is such a game changer for them. We saw yesterday, we talked about the fact that, you know, when they don't have Hundor, they felt like just a different team. They weren't playing anywhere near as cohesively or as decisive when it came time for team fights. And that's something that clearly Hundor brings to the table beyond just being a stellar carry himself.
Yeah, absolutely. When you look at the difference in that team with that player stepping out, it really is a difference maker. And speaking of Queso, right now, we are just waiting for them to get a 5th player onto the server, and then we'll be able to kick off this 3rd place game. So bear with us for just a moment there. But I want to talk about the difference here between Rising Lotus in yesterday's matches against Clash and them against Divine Vendetta, because, you know, they were the underdog way back in the quarterfinals. They managed to upset Divine Vendetta to make it into the semifinals, losing out to Clash, and, you know, that was a convincing 2-0. What is that, just the level of Clash, or do we see a different Rising Lotus yesterday?
I think that was more the level of Clash than it was seeing a different Rising Lotus. I mean, they did put up some fight against Clash. It wasn't like they just rolled over and let Clash walk all over them. They did have some team fight victories. There were times where it looked like we might have been going to a 3rd game, but it was ultimately Clash being able to take control back from Rising Lotus. But the fact that Rising Lotus gave any fight against Clash, you know, starting off the Summer Open, that sounds like it would be a shock, because you looked at the roster that they had, and it didn't compare on paper to what Clash was bringing to the table coming into the tournament. But obviously now we know that this Rising Lotus squad, they mean business. They are here to play, and they are looking pretty strong in their games as well.
If we can see the same Rising Lotus we saw against Divine Vendetta, I'm excited to see what they can bring to Queso. Now we have an important announcement as well. You guys might have already seen it on social media. There is a new hero coming to Vainglory, and he goes by the name of Yates.
For generations, our people have run from the churn. But now, with Githian steel, Elkin magic, and Seraphim knowledge, my men and I have obliterated the infested lands, making way for those who will end the cycle of devastation forever. If some old trees must fall, if some beasts swear revenge, well, that is the price to be paid for survival.
Yates will be available as well during our October tournament. The Autumn Open is coming soon. Starts off in October, and you can already sign up. If you've got 4 friends at home that you play Vainglory with, we want to see you signed up for the tournament.
Yeah, free to enter. You have nothing to lose. Go on, sign up, and fight for your chance at some cash.
Yeah, absolutely. $10,000 up for grabs over 2 weekends. You do not want to miss out on that. But also, Yates will be available in that tournament. And I want to talk a little bit about the new hero. He looks scary right now. It looks like heavy bruiser that wants to fight.
Yeah, all we have right now are just the ability previews that have been thrown up on Twitter, but I really can't wait till we see the actual full details of everything. I mean, it's got a pull, a stun, basically looks like a Grace's ability, but almost better because he can move with it. We'll see what the actual, like, there's got to be some kind of drawbacks there, I would assume. Otherwise,
I hope so.
Otherwise,
I really
like,
hope so.
the fact that you just get someone else's ability but better just doesn't seem fair. And then it looks like a teleporting ult that can drop him onto other parts of the map for some extra damage.
Yeah.
Right up my alley, 'cause I love playing bruisers. You know, that's why I like the Arden so much, and hopefully Yates will be just as much fun to play.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Bear in mind, he comes out Wednesday, so we're all going to be able to get our grubby mitts on Yates on Wednesday. Cannot wait to just grind out some solo queue and see what the new hero is like. But honestly, looking at his kit, in the meta right now, everything is so CC based. He looks so good.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, that's going to be coming up on Wednesday. But unfortunately, right now, we do have some bad news, as it does seem that Queso was unable to get a 5th member onto the game for this matchup. So they are going to be forfeiting this matchup. But Rising Lotus, that means they're getting our 3rd place finish.
Yeah, so Rising Lotus are going to be able to be our 3rd place team. Team Queso are going to have to forfeit this one as they cannot field a roster today. Kind of an unfortunate finish of the tournament for Queso, you know, coming in top 2 seed, and honestly, most people were expecting it to be a Queso Clash final. I think Queso themselves were unfortunate turnout yesterday that Hundor couldn't play due to going on a field trip, and now not even managing to turn up to the 3rd place game. Definitely a very unfortunate turn of events for them. But I mean, Rising Lotus, they're going to be over the moon with this. They've guaranteed themselves some prize money. Well, Rising Lotus have done way above and beyond what anyone expected of them.
I'm not sure if they're going to be over the moon. They're definitely going to be happy to have gotten to 3rd place.
Free money, mate.
So many of these players, you know, we've been seeing throughout the tournament, whenever there's been a default win, a lot of times the players are like, man, that's not how we wanted to win, though. We wanted to show that we are the better team, not just be given the advancement. So I'm almost positive that's going to be the kind of the mentality there. It's going to be, we really wish that we could have shown that we were better than Queso, but we'll take the money.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to complain with a caveat, right? Because you're still walking away with $500. That's definitely not something to be sniffed at. And Rising Lotus, let's just, I mean, take a moment to appreciate their path through the tournament. People know the name Rising Lotus, but this version of Rising Lotus, fairly unknown players. And, you know, PT Lan was kind of the cornerstone of the squad, the one player that everyone already knew from 3v3. Definitely a stalwart, a veteran of Vainglory. Coming into the tournament, people were expecting decent things. And then against Divine Vendetta, very much, I think, general consensus was they're the underdogs. Nobody's expecting much. They managed to dominate that series. It was close in the first game, but then not so much in game number 2. And their success story since then has just been fantastic.
Yeah, again, they looked strong against Clash, which is more than most teams in Europe can say. And then the fact that, you know, taking down Divine Vendetta after Divine Vendetta had looked so good against Historic as well. So, you know, that was kind of what led to a lot of people thinking that Divine Vendetta was going to be taking down Rising Lotus. It's just how good their opponents had looked throughout this tournament. Like, Rising Lotus at almost every step of the way was facing off against a team that had previously looked very strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, with Rising Lotus now taking that 3rd place, it does mean that we have only 2 teams remaining in the tournament. It means that it's about time that we head towards our grand final. It's going to be Clash going up against Sly. Sly were the underdogs coming on into the tournament. They have proven themselves. You can take a look at our Play Big head-to-head here. For our final, it's going to be Clash taking on Sly. Like I said, Sly definitely were the underdogs coming into the tournament, but have absolutely proven themselves to be a top team.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. Now, you know, a lot of people were looking at it saying, "Oh, you know, Europe is just 2 teams at the very top and everyone else just fighting for 3rd place. That is no longer the case because Sly's proven they are a top team, but they're gonna have to take down Clash. And you know this roster, Leon, Agony, Imagination, I'm the Doom, and Disowned, they have been dominant throughout the VPL.
Yeah, absolutely. This is terrible. We already talked about I'm the Doom earlier on, but they're up against Sly, and that is not an easy roster to take down either. We've got Sneaky Cracks, Nomad Vagabond, Svantu, but I want to talk about Solicitude, because this man has seriously impressed me over the course of the tournament so far. Not only is he on a top 2 team in Europe right now, but also when you look at the leaderboards for the top 5 coming into the weekend, he was in every single leaderboard as a team that people didn't really expect much out of. To impress like that is something to behold.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been phenomenal. Was a little shaky in one game yesterday on the Samuel. Didn't quite look comfortable, but they quickly swapped him down to playing in the carry role in bottom lane, and all of a sudden he was right back on track, finding kills, finding opportunities to go in. And that's, again, one of these things that these teams that are so flexible and able to say, okay, you know what, you're struggling in this matchup mid lane, we're going to swap you out, put you into a different position so that you can still continue to excel in this game.
I mean, that's something that we can say for both of these squads as well. They're more than happy to swap between roles, to change where things are on the map, depending on how well players are playing and honestly just what they're comfortable with at the time. Because Vainglory is in a spot where you can swap the heroes and roles a lot around. Like, we have mages going in the jungle, we have top laners, you can play basically anything top lane. Like, there is a lot of flexibility, especially at the top level, because these guys are so good. They can play multiple roles, and we see that happening before our eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you see in ranked queues all the time, guys playing multiple different roles. You have to be able to play in ranked at the top level. And when we're talking about these teams, like, there's a couple different things. You know, you talk about the role swapping, and that's one of the things that is a pinnacle of Clash, is that they have the ability to swap roles all the time.
Yeah, they also have the most wins with Kensei in the entire VPL, but I mean, Solicitude, we already mentioned him, a top 5 player in multiple categories, and you expect him really to be one who will step up here in this tournament. But honestly, the role swapping, the fact that that's a trait both of these teams share, makes this matchup incredibly exciting to look at. And when we take a look at Queso versus Sly, we can have a look at the stats for this game. It's very similar to what we saw with Queso and Sly. Sorry, this is Clash versus Sly. The stats are very similar.
Yeah, I mean, you see there is an advantage for the side of Clash in the gold, but it's not by much. It's only 14 gold per minute in favor of Clash. So Sly has been doing such a good job of keeping that gold income up, and they actually have the lead in eliminations. So they're doing such a great job at keeping up with these top teams and keeping their stats on par. But
yeah, absolutely. So leading on into the tournament, we were speaking to Clash Justman specifically on how confident they were and what it means to win the VPL in our Razor phone.
Jasmine from Team Clash here. For us, winning VPL is way more than a simple tournament. It's a rivalry against Team Castle. Everything has started even before the preseason, and it's going to last for much longer time than everybody can ever expect. Hopefully, we can pull off a win and prove that Team Clash place in Europe is at the top.
You can see the little eyebrow raise at the end there. These guys are confident. And, you know, he was talking about the Clash versus Queso rivalry. That was the expected final. So, honestly, Clash, they might be a little bit out of sorts coming into this one, because I don't think Sly's a team that they were prepping for.
Yeah, absolutely not. They were expecting to be going up against Queso, but now they have to kind of do a quick 180 and start prepping for Sly. But we talked about the fact that, again, Sly plays this similar style to Queso, so it's not that much of a stretch to go from preparing for Queso to preparing for Sly, because they are so similar. The one thing I really want, I kind of hope that we get to see at this game will be the fact that, you know, with all this lane swapping that we talk about, I would love to see, like, a team, you know, let's say Clash comes out and wins convincingly in game 1. I would love to see then Sly, you know, do that lane role swap and just have it be answered by Clash doing the same thing and saying, you know what, you're trying to get out of this matchup. We're going to keep you in this matchup. And so I would love to see kind of the counter swapping going on.
Absolutely, and I expect to see that, especially in the role swapping specifically. But I just want to update some of you guys in case you missed the start of the stream. We actually had a default win happening to kick off the day. Rising Lotus are going to take a default win in the third place matchup up against Queso, as Queso were unable to field a roster for the match. So that means Rising Lotus guaranteed themselves that third place prize money. They are going to be named the third best team in Europe, and that means that we're jumping now into our finals matchup. It does also mean that the players for the finals matchup kind of have to jump on the server a little bit early, so we're just trying to wrangle everyone together and get everyone ready for the finals. Obviously, we want the teams to be ready, to be prepared, to be cool, calm, and calculated as we head on into the first draft. But I believe that they are just about ready to jump on into this one. So it's time to kick off our European finals.
I cannot wait to see where this draft is going to go. Obviously, Clash throughout this tournament, they've been known for for throwing away their first couple bans and saying we want as many power picks open as possible. And it looks like that trend is going to continue.
Absolutely, going to throw away the ban onto Petal. It allows them to get those power picks through. Kensei obviously going to be the answer ban. You don't ever allow I'm the Doom to play Kensei. I mean, I wouldn't allow it against any team. Never mind Clash.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is with these bans, now they have to decide. Kinetic is an option, but then there's Churnwalker. There's the Fortress that we saw a lot of teams banning throughout the tournament. So there's so many things that they have to choose. What do we leave open, and what do we try and take for ourselves?
So Churnwalker is going to be the first pick. It's been a high priority pick. We haven't seen it much yesterday. We've seen it quite a lot over the last couple of weeks, though, and it's something that the top teams especially, and let's bear in mind, we're in the championship right now. We're in the final. These are the top teams. Churnwalker, incredibly strong in the early game. It means that you can control what is happening on the map, and it means that you kind of buff your entire team with the damage share.
Yeah, and so I like the fact that they did go for the Fortress ban there instead and say, you know what, you can have Churnwalker, we're going to take Kinetic. It was going to be one of the other two. Oh, was it? Okay, it looks like Fortress from where I'm sitting. Because I have terrible
They are very small bands. They are very small bands. It's going to be Kinetic and Samuel are going to be the follow-up picks. So Sly going straight with carries.
The fact that it's a Grump Draw ban actually makes even more sense.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the Grump Draw ban, yeah. I mean, Fortress has been a pick we've seen a lot less of yesterday than in previous weeks. Kestrel going to be locked in by Clash. It's got to be I'm the Doom, right? You expect that to be I'm the Doom.
It almost has to be for I'm the Doom. A lot of teams have been... a couple teams actually picked up the Kestrel yesterday, didn't perform that well with it. We'll see if I'm the Doom is going to be able to continue to keep his claim of best Kestrel world.
I've never seen I'm the Doom play badly on Kestrel, but also I love the Catherine pick that they follow up with here, because Catherine is a fantastic pick against Kestrel because she can reflect the burst damage that Kestrel will put out. Catherine's decent. It's not like a priority pick, but when you're locking in Kestrel, why not lock in the counter? You can send it to the top lane, but it means that I'm the Doom has a little bit more free reign.
Yeah, not only that, but Catherine just does well against AoE compositions because of the fact that you can't choose to not target her when she has that Stormguard bubble up. So that's I think she's a really good pick into Samuel for that reason as well. Anything that has stuns is good into Samuel because you can then try and stop him from being able to stay in his Drifting Dark. The Lorelei, I think, is a really smart pick as well because there are multiple stuns on the side of Clash, so they needed something to be able to cleanse that stun off of a Malign or off of the Kinetic if they do get caught.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see how they're going to round this one out. Celeste will be the lock-in for mid lane, and then they're going to finish it off with a Reza as well. Pretty aggressive composition coming out from Clash, but that's sort of what you expect at this stage. If you've not been watching the rest of the tournament, Clash is a team that wants to take the fight to their opponents, and this composition is going to prove it.
Yeah, the final pick will be coming in shortly for the side of Sly, excuse me. And they're going to need something that has some tankiness. I was going to say Arden. That is what they do lock in the end. So it makes a lot of sense. Again, you needed that tankiness, and he's one of the tankier heroes. It's Arden and Lance and Finn are really your three choices for if you need a tanky captain-like hero. And so Arden just provides so much extra utility.
Absolutely, and you expect him to be kind of the front line for the team. Aside from Arden, it's a very squishy, well, it's like pseudo-squishy, because there is Lorelei. Water Wall stops any squishy from being squishy.
Samuel isn't exactly squishy either. He has so much durability in the middle of a team fight. So there is a good amount of survivability on this team. Kinetic can stay so far back. Maleen can just drop into the shadows when need to, escape. So they do have a lot of tools to escape if a fight does start turning south.
Yeah, and those Lorelei water walls are going to be crucial, because when you look at the roster that Clash is bringing to the table, when you've got Reza to jump onto the back line, plus all of the CC, that you're going to have to keep those carries alive. It's going to be a difficult challenge.
It absolutely is, but we are just about ready to get into game. The finals are underway.
Absolutely, it's our championship game. It's Clash going up against Sly.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the VPL Summer Open Finals. My name is Humanist. I'm joined by the one and only Excoundrel. Excoundrel, how you doing, my man?
Oh, dude, I'm feeling great. That felt like a wrestling intro for me right there. I'm happy with that. Thanks, buddy.
Oh man, I'm gonna get some flack for that. People don't like their wrestling intros, but we are in the finals, and it deserves a little bit of hype here.
Yeah, and you can also see that we've got interesting team compositions coming through. Now, Disown playing his Celeste, it's a very, very good pick for him. But more importantly, I'm the Doom playing the Kestrel. Now, whilst it's got the weapon power built in sort of the early portion here, I have seen a lot of hybrid Kestrels. I've also seen sort of CP Kestrels build weapon power early on and so then can transition into CP. So we'll have to see where Doom decides to go. He looks like he's playing bot lane weapon power Kestrel though, so that could be more likely here. And it's definitely a really good pick for Doom. He's classically been known for being a weapon power or just Kestrel player in general. And his CP Kestrel was especially very well known in the 3v3 days.
Yeah, he's a pretty amazing Kestrel player in general. But as I was looking at, I was looking at the left half of the map for that Crystal Trance skirmish, but it was actually Sneaky who snuck away the Crystal buff from I'm the Doom.
Yeah, and I think they also lost, they lost that one on the right-hand side there, like you said. So I'm the Doom didn't manage to pick that up, and actually that gives a small experience advantage over to Sneaky, which is actually really important, because in that bot lane, where you do have the 2 versus 1 meta right now, where you still have Agony and Doom going to be looking to gang up on Sneaky, any experience that you can get is going to be good, because you classically are starved out of experience in this particular lane. So if you pick up that Crystal Treant buff, that's going to maybe give you a level advantage when they look to dive you. That might even give you the extra HP necessary to keep you safe as well.
Well, things pretty quiet across the map. Besides that early invade for those Crystal buffs, people have fanned out across the map. Sneaky was able to go ahead and recall back. Picks up his Stormguard banner. This will make his lane incredibly easy, barring that he doesn't take too much damage. In mid lane, Drifting Dark from Crack. So nice Torment in from Leon, pulling 3 with the hook and chains out. As Fontu squares up on Disown. Disown to squishy Celeste at this point. Leon continues with the hook and chains. The Torment taking Nomad Vagabond incredibly low. This is pretty much Healing Flask forced out of everybody in this lane, except for Maleen there.
Yeah, and I think... Oh, wait a second.
Whoa! 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 Agony! I didn't see that coming.
No, nor did I, and that was a quick first kill there for Clash. It's something else that we haven't noted is that Leon playing the Churnwalker. There have been times in Clash, especially when we saw them back in the EPL, where they didn't quite have the same success. They stuck Leon on Churnwalker, and Leon is a godlike Churnwalker. You could see right there, tanking 3 members. When you've got those 3 hook and chains enabled, it gives you so much sustain, even through the natural damage that the hook and chains do. And so he was able to tank up the majority of the players from Sly. Now, I feel like we're talking a lot about Clash here. They're obviously the favorites coming into this particular matchup, but Sly beating Queso and getting here as well in the first place is a massive achievement for them. And if you look at their composition, they have a really good, what I like to call escalator composition, Humanist, where you have really good early game in the form of the Samuel. He then transitions well into the mid game, as does Maleen, and then you have that late game powerhouse in the form of the weapon power Kinetic.
Oh, the escalator. I get it. It's like you're stepping up. It's like you can ramp up into that late game carry.
Exactly, exactly.
I didn't know if it's like someone's going to escalate the situation.
Oh, well, you're escalating to the late game. It's kind of like some people draft compositions that are particularly all late game or all early game. This gives you this nice blend of both.
Here. Oh, yeah, we definitely can come back to this. It feels like it potentially will be a kill. Solicitude getting lit up, and that will be the second kill of the game. This one going to Disowned, a very important kill to get on that Celeste.
Yeah, absolutely, and he was able to do that because he's been able to shove that wave in the mid lane. They made him sort of a guilt. I like to call it a guilt-free rotation towards the top lane because you don't lose too much the tower. You could see that Krax and Nomad were not in the right position to be able to respond to that. Their only response was to rotate and push that mid lane up as much as they could, but unfortunately, they really only denied about 3 or 4 minions away from Disowned. So that was a really, really, really slick rotation from Clash, and Sly right now look like they're on the back foot.
Yeah, I like that. Guilt-free rotation. Plus, Agony actually cleaned up the last 2 that were under turret there. So it's a nice efficiency rotation once again. Clash in position to contest over on this Crystal Treant. This is going to be a 4 versus 4 situation. 1 hero from each team staying in that top lane. A lot of damage coming out. Let's jump in deep here from Agony. With that Netherform detonator, they're able to take down Samuel. Looking for Sneaky. Sneaky's low. They won't go for it. Level 4 is Fontu. Sneaky as well. Nomad Vagabond level 4. This is pretty insane level advantage over to Clash.
Yeah, I mean, the level advantage is doing all the work, like you said, Humanist. You could talk about the fact that realistically, at this stage in the game, Samuel should be punching more than a Celeste could, especially if you have a look at the items that they had at that time. There was no real major advantage for Disowned because he's sitting on about 1,600 gold right now. Whereas Krax, you know, he had a decent amount of items that should have been a position where he was able to use that small enclosed space around the Crystal Treant buff to be able to win that team fight out with the Drifting Dark and Malice and Verdict. But they're just too far behind in levels. If I was Sly and I was going to rethink how I approach that particular engage, I'd say, look, we're losing versus Clash right now in team fights. Let's just go take their blue buff and trade blue buff for blue buff.
Right now, Krax maybe thinking about an invade, but they are late to the party, and Krax is going to get punished. Wow. Little overzealous there. Late to the engage, but Leon and Disowned are in the right place at the right time. And that's what feels bad, man. You're on the back foot. You try to make something happen. You're out of the rhythm of the game, and you're going to pay for it.
Yeah, Clash just looking at the outclass at every single moment right now. They're going to take the Ghost Wing as soon as it spawns, which is obviously going to set them up really nicely heading into the next sort of 3 minutes of this game. Have that extra damage to the structures. Wait a second, another rotation.
It was a trespass into a core collapse as Fontu had nowhere to go.
I want you to take a look at
the steal. Is Sneaky gonna get the steal? Oh, he's not gonna get the steal, but it was a nice attempt anyway. Agony low on health with I Am the Doom moving forward. There's a Drifting Dark from Samuel, but they don't even care. Krax isolated from his team as the Blast Trimmer comes out. Silence on a Solicitude. Not sure if that one shot connected looked a little weird on my screen. Doesn't matter. They get the kill anyway. Clash will be up 8-0. 7 minutes in game 1 of this championship series.
I mean, what a way to say that you are the best team in Europe. The people that come the closest to you are getting absolutely ridiculed on their first game into this championship series. Nothing they can do. It's complete domination in the map left, right, and center. Doom as well, outputting so much damage on this front line as the Kestrel. Take a look at the items that have been prioritized, by the way, especially from Disowned and Leon. You saw tier 2 boots, and Leon has gone for War Treads very early on here as another engage takes place.
Is it an engage or just like a boot stomping trespass under the T2? Leon might drop here. He's taking a lot of damage. Oh, with the Crystal Blade stays alive. Oh my goodness. What a calculator.
Wow. That was just like you said, a stomp, I think, is the best way to describe these particular engages. But if you look at the fact that Disowned and Leon has prioritized movement speed in the form of a tier 3 boots in War Treads, and obviously Disowned had his tier 2 boots before he'd even got a heavy prism, that tells you everything you need to know about the playstyle of Disowned and Leon here. They look to shove and rotate, shove and rotate, shove and rotate, and they always are putting their pressure in the top lane because that's the one lane that gives a late game get out clause, as Solicitude again is the target.
Solicitude easy out of this one by death. You'll respawn in about 15 seconds, but nice easy recall back home.
I love it as well because if there's one particular hero that you're going to be worried about as Clash getting towards the late game, it would be a weapon power kinetic. And by just constantly rotating out of mid lane to the top side of the map where doesn't seem to be a duo jungle synergy up there with the kinetic, you are just punishing that. I mean, Solicitude is now only on a Serpent's Mask if you look at Doom on his counterpart. 1.5 items ahead. I mean, look at Doom. Look at Doom. He just absolutely obliterates Krax there.
Yeah, that was 2 glimmers and like 1 basic attack. This is a tough place to be in. Like, Krax obviously feels like he needs to get something done, tries to go for the invade, but he gets spotted out. Once they have that information, it's so easy to collapse down onto him. And you can call this an escalator composition, but it feels like the escalator's broken.
Yeah, it's the first few steps unfortunately got broken away, and Now they've got nowhere to go. And like you said, it is going to be a slower process now. The stairs is going to have to be their only option. Leon
looking for the engaged. Cracks. I don't know what he's trying to do. He's like trying to trade with this zone, but he's going to get melted. I'm the Doom, a squishy target. This will be the first kill on the board for Sly. I believe the Blastomer also came through in that engage, but there was nothing to follow. At the end of it, 1 for 1 because Clash a little overzealous. It's a tasty little Solar Storm, but will not be finding a kill.
I mean, but you've got to the point in the game now where you have a Celeste who's post level 8, and you can see another engage. I mean, this is Sneaky's just dead, right? Sneaky's just.
It's not. It's not even the engage. It's like Sly. Oh, that's a one-shot, one kill.
And he gets the kill right there. Cross map snipe. There is no mercy for Sly at this point. Clash absolutely dominating in their first game, and I just think Sly looked lost.
Yeah, it's like because Sly are so far behind that they can't play normally if they have a chance in this game. They have to go for steals in situations where there are 4 heroes on a Crystal Treant in hopes that you can steal it and maybe make a god play to get out. And it's going to take like a bunch of these, probably like you'd have to win like 3 team fights and make like 5 of those steals just to be equal in this game. And that's just where they're playing from. That's why it looks a little silly in some of the moves they're making.
Yeah, and you can see Disowned make the power play purchase on Celeste, going for the Shatterglass. This is an item that you usually purchase in your head, or you're purchasing it to deal with lots of squishy carries, which you do have on the side of Sly. You will looking to burst the Samuel, the Maline, and the Kinetic, obviously. But in this situation, it's a massive power play item because it solidifies a lead that you have, because you're just looking to do that excessive amount of damage. Obviously, Dragon's Eye gives you a later game option, allowing you to make mistakes and scale up. Well, Shatterglass is like, I'm going to win, and I'm going to win now. And going for the Clockwork next should be enough items for Disowned to become that backline artillery that we know Celeste can be post level 8.
So if Sly have like a 1% chance in this game, I have to feel it's going to involve like Breaking Point being completed on Solicitude, plus a weapon infusion, plus an over engage once again coming out of Clash. But Clash already in the base, and Sneaky, man, I don't know if he has like 500 MS lag or what, but he throws the gauntlet when it fell too late. They're going to lose their Samuel. He gets blown apart. Clash are in the base, into the armory. I have checked this clock. I didn't know my clock's broken. This is sub 12 minutes here, and it feels like it's about to be GG if one mistake comes out of Sly.
Yeah, it's certainly looking that way. I mean, Sly at this point, they have to somehow turtle. They have to try and get back what is now a 13,000 gold disadvantage. Leon overextending slightly, probably going to give up his life here. Unfortunately, just with a little bit of BM there, and is punished. The rest of Clash, though, still are likely in a position where they can 4 versus 5. You know, they have such strong item power spikes and level power spikes over their opponents.
Nomad,
they're even trying to go for
dropping low. Agony as well, though, but maybe Agony can kind of like debate them into this fight, thinking they can get a kill. One shot connects onto Swan 2. He's not incredibly tanky. Netherform Detonator onto 3, slaps him with some pretty good little damage there. Gets turned around, and Kinetic actually finds the kill like Scoundrel. This is exactly what Sly needed. Leon's respawned on the map, but Sly continue. Active camo down. Is it going to proc? Cracks able to avoid it, but they still get the kill. Just Man, what a legend. He turns around, takes down Maline. He's still alive. I'm the Doom. Another active camo turns around. He's going to take down Leon. It's over.
Oh, no way. I am the Doom, the single best Kestrel in the world, still showing that he's got what it takes. What incredible kiting from him, but what incredible team play as well. They just so happened to play around the active camo trap, and Doom kited back so nicely. They're Disowned also cleaning up with the ultimate, but it was all about that bait into a couple of active camo traps that let Doom kite backwards, and Sly, they were so desperate for the kills, they fell right into it.
That was the dream kite right there. Man. Not much to say about that. They just played it incredibly well. Granted, they are very far ahead of their opponents, so it was a little bit easier to make that play. But Sly had to have an idea that there was a chance that was going to happen. They were baited in. I'm the Doom dropping that low. It felt like an important kill. So psychologically, they're going to try and make that play.
Yeah, I like what they're doing here as well, by the way. They are using the fact that they've got nothing really to take in the mid lane and allow Blacklaw to provide that distraction while they go for something like the side lane inhibitor you can see here. Very aggressive play, though.
Clash, I'm not sure that I'm going to play-by-play this one. They're just going to get run over, but Clash have done this for the last couple weeks. Every single time they get a Blacklaw, if there's even like a base turret up, they split push the other lane, and they've gone generally as 5 almost every single time. And it looks like Sly are just melting down, kind of as expected. Clash wraps this one up, 14 minutes in here. But I was kind of thinking to myself, like, if they met, like, an equal opponent as you got into the championships, then potentially this is something that their opponent could take advantage of. Whatever the case, that's not happening here. Maybe our analysts back at the desk can break this one down for us a little bit more.
What a performance coming out from Clash. Game number 1 of our championship match, and they managed to absolutely roll over Sly 26-4.
Yeah, incredible performance from Clash. I mean, absolutely looking like the favorite that they are in this matchup. It's going to take a very, very big effort from Sly to come back from this game and be able to make this into a full-on series. But right now, it looks like this is going to be Clash's championship to win.
And that last major team fight near Black Claw was honestly
so good.
Masterclass.
So
I wish I
good.
could rewatch that right now. But before we jump into game number 2 of this series, I want to remind you guys of our Poker Go format for the tournament. We can take a look. Obviously, this is going to be how NA is happening as well. It's going to be best of 3 single elimination. We're into the very last best of 3 for Europe as we're into our championship game.
Yeah, it took 5 weeks to get here, but it is here now, and we are in the midst of that final series. And you can see this is what they are playing for. This is what's on the line. One of these 2 teams will get $3,000. One of them will walk away with $1,500, and it's obviously third place going to have $500 as well. $5,000 in each region.
Yeah, absolutely. Rising Lotus already netted that $500 for themselves, and we'll see which of these 2 teams is going to be able to grab that $3,000. Right now, it looks like Clash.
Looking pretty heavily like it's going to be Clash.
Let's take a moment to appreciate. We said I'm the Doom was the player to watch coming on into this series.
And he was spectacular.
He
was
in that last team fight. His kiting
on the Kestrel. But I also want to talk about Disowned a little bit as we get into the draft for game number 2, and the way that they recognize, okay, late game threat, the biggest threat late game is going to be this Kinetic. So they constantly were rotating up top and killing Kinetic, making sure that she could not have an impact late in the game.
Absolutely. Interestingly, Clash only throwing away 1 ban this time around. They decided to remove that Churn Walker from the running. And it's also going to be Kensei and Reza taken off the board. Still a fair few power picks available, though. That Kinetic that we saw in game 1, still available. Kestrel as well, but Grumpjaw going to be the first lock-in. Clash now, they kind of have the pick of the litter on where they want to go with their composition.
Yeah, obviously, the Grumpjaw is a very strong early game pick, and this seems to be what Sly wants to do, is go for this early game strength. They tried to do it in game number 1, but unfortunately, we're not able to match what Clash brought to the table. We'll see with Grumpjaw, maybe this is going to be a key for them in getting that early game advantage.
Yeah, I'd love to see something more from them as well. When it comes to the mid lane, when it comes to their side laners, more early game power. I'd love to see maybe you know, something like a Maleen mid so that they can actually contest this early game, because that's where they lost. Like, once Clash had that lead from the early game, there was no coming back at that stage. They need to contest early. They need to go for these aggressive picks. The Grumpjaw and the Tony, I absolutely love. Now we need to have some carries that can back them up in those early skirmishes.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting that big damage. Flicker could also be another one of these picks that can excel early on and can set you up for some strong plays in the mid game especially. So we'll see where they decide to go. They actually take the Kestrel away, making sure that I'm the Doom does not get his hands on that hero.
Interesting. They're going to steal the Kestrel away from I'm the Doom. Gwen will be an instant lock-in there. I'd imagine that's a pretty decent matchup, especially if you can hide behind a Catherine. They did hover for a Catherine for a second there, but deciding the Celeste is more important right now.
Yeah, and this is, again, another triple carry composition. They already had the Samuel, so now Celeste or Samuel, likely to be Samuel going either into a top lane or the jungle.
Really important to mention, they've actually swapped out the mid laner. Disowned is subbed out so Imagination can play a game, because this feels like a victory lap right now for Clash, and they want everyone on the roster
game
to
number
have a
1,
go.
absolutely. And it is going to be the Flicker getting picked up here for the side of Sly. And now where do they go to round out this composition? I still feel like they need another carry on this team, because really Grumpjaw, Tony not going to be doing enough damage to win you a team fight, and they do grab the Maline to be their final pick. So not a lot of durability on this team aside from the Tony, and obviously Flicker can build very tanky and likely will, but there's not a lot of like peeling potential for this side.
There's not a huge amount of CC on the lineup, but I like what they've done here. They've gone and basically said, we have to win early. We're going to play kind of a win lane, win game strategy where if we win the first few skirmishes, we can just snowball and run away with things. Clash on the other side,
that's a
kind
big
of going
team
for
fight.
Yeah, going a bit later.
There's a lot of team fighting potential within that composition. You know, you have Samuel, Arden with the Gwen, and then you throw an Adagio on top of that. There's so much area control within this composition that it's pretty much just, they're just saying, you know what, you guys, even if you win the early game against us, when it comes to when everyone's grouped up, you don't stand a chance with this composition.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how Sly are going to change things up. Coming into game number 2 here, it's about time that we find out that we're heading into game number 2 of our championship match. It's time to find out who is going to be our European champions here as I pass it back over to Humanist and Scoundrel.
We are on the rise for game 2 between Sly and Clash here in the VPL Summer Open EU Championship. My name Humanist. I'm joined by a Scoundrel, and we are ready to go.
My name is Scoundrel. I'm here too.
I love Lamp.
So let's have a look at the changes that we've had coming into this. Doom is going to be on Gwen, and I'm sure he's going to be saying "Got to get good" to Sly, because that is exactly how the Sly are going to have to change their entire approach to this game, because they have not stood up against Clash. Clash absolutely dominated them, although you can see here going for the split across the 2 CP buffs. Sly are not going to give their own up that easily. But they aren't using too many members to contest it, and this looks like an overall decent trade for Clash, although it actually ends up going over to Nomad, and as well as you can see in the top side of the map, the own weapon power buff has been taken away by Sneaky there, so actually it's a 3-buff trade right now to Sly.
Just man, slingshotting Agony back. He'll take a lot of damage. Grumpjaw coming down. Actually, he felt like he had a nice sandwich. Solicitude turns around to drop a little bit of damage, but he ends up being first blood. It's really not what you're looking for, team. Sneaky pulled off of that. And maybe a bit of miscommunication coming out of the team there. Also, Sneaky pulling one of my favorite excuses out of his pocket. He said, I was connected to the wrong Wi-Fi, man. So maybe that's going to be a little bit of difference here in game 2.
That's my favorite excuse as well, actually. Whenever I feed in solo queue, which is a lot, it's always about the wrong Wi-Fi.
It's true. I don't even watch you. I just know I just know that's the truth.
You ask any European player, I'm terrible. All right, Nomad looking to be aggressive on this Flicker. It's something that you can be. I mean, Flicker has been single-handedly made good in this current update just by the existence of Pulse Weave. That is the only item in the world to make Flicker good. It's the first time in VG's history that Flicker has ever been good, but Nomad, unfortunately, is not, and he dies.
Not true. Didn't DefQ play like an amazing Flicker back at like 2016 championships?
Yeah, I think that was like... Flicker in 3v3 was kind of different. In 3v3, and Flash X also played a really good Flicker once for TSM. The Flicker in 3v3 could dominate just by constantly maintaining vision control through scout trap clearing, and he's very, very snowbally. For the Flicker in 5v5, vision is way too hard to clear for Flicker, and so he became like very useless, and he was very easily spotted out on the map. Whereas now you've got this Pulse Weave build that you can build with Flicker, and it's made him actually fairly useful because you can Pulse Weave and rush in with your increased movement speed on the stealth that you get as well. That it just actually makes him a fairly useful hero in general.
I really like the fact that Flicker is being used. I think it's a very fun kit and quite effective as well. Fairy Dust onto Leon. Leon taking a good amount of damage, but they turn around onto Cracks. Cracks in the Wicked Escapade. They turn around, they blow up the Samuel, they get the Gwen as well. Sly just 1, 2 left, right punches. They land him now, getting into the jungle. Sneaky, a little nom-noms on that weapon tree. It feels pretty good, huh, Scoundrel?
Dude, that was a very sneaky rotation. They slithered up towards that CP buff. They rotated their entire 5 units, and this is something that I've seen a lot of teams do. They don't change their second rotation plan, even when the enemy team has seen their first attempted rotation split. So you saw that they split Doom and Agony off towards that top side CP buff, and then they all went for their own CP buff and tried to do a 2 CP buff trade. That was noticed very early by Sly. Doom and Agony showed up on that side of the map again, and immediately Sly put their entire 5 members there. That was a really, really good rotation. It looks like they're not done yet.
Ooh, they're not done yet. They're going for more. Oh, Sneaky's connected to the 5G. Let's go. We're making it happen. Sneaky hasn't even shopped yet. Look at this man. 1,900 gold in his bank account.
I'm not going to lie to you. If
Lie
I had
to me,
made
baby.
I'm not going to lie to you because I'm telling you the truth right now. If I had made a update 3.6 meta list, which I probably should have done but didn't.
Yeah, if you wanted to continue your successful YouTube.
Yes, but I was very busy this month, unfortunately. However, I would have had Grumpjaw as one of my best top laners in the update. Grumpjaw is legit sleeper right now. If people aren't playing Grumpjaw, they should be playing Grumpjaw. He's an incredible, incredible power pick, I think, just because of that buff to his living armor specifically. I love Grumpjaw right now. And,
what was it, like 1% per stack?
I think it was it? Yeah, maybe it was 1 or 2%
I'm not
per
sure,
stack.
but it actually, I mean, it adds up. It adds up to be like quite effective.
Yeah, it's a big boon, I think, in terms of his overall survivability, and he's perfectly placed for a 2v1 lane. He's got escape, he's got wave clear, he's got damage reduction naturally built into his kit. I mean, that's what more could you ask in unfavorable 2v1 matchups?
I don't know. Maybe that he spends 2,400 gold over down in the bottom jungle. Crystal Giant being contested here, but it's Solicitude that grabs it. Solicitude's going to be double buffed, and Sly, I don't know if they just like boosted up with a couple shots of espresso between games or what is going on. Sneaky's going to be finding I'm the Doom. 320 damage on that Grumpy. Now also finding Agony. Are they going to get in? They get Agony. Flicker takes that kill. Sly are up 5-2. I don't know if maybe I was going to say is the overlay wrong, but no, but we're in game. I'm looking. They got team tags right here. And my eyes are my eyes deceiving me?
As soon as Disowned leaves, everything goes to pot for Clash. What is going on right now? Just one member. He must have been holding the ship together. Disowned must be the guy that holds the ship together and tells Clash not to int it really hard, because because right now Clash, they don't seem to be adapting to, and to be honest, Sly are the ones that are making the more positive movements on the map. I mean, Clash just trying to pull off that same CP buff rotation 3 times in a row. Sly, they got your number, dude. They've got your number.
Got your number. I've also got Scoundrel's number if anyone wants to DM and get those digits. But right now, 6.5 minutes in, 5-2, Sly's up. They have a small net worth advantage. It's got to feel good. I mean, not only just the actual advantage in game, but that psychological advantage that it gives to you as players. And oftentimes, even like teams that are completely even in skill, sometimes it's just confidence that puts you over the top.
Absolutely, but here we go, Clash moving forward. That's Nomad going low, but the rotations from Sly are good.
Yeah, Nomad able to slip out of that engage there. It's pretty important that he doesn't go down. With that, Sneaky will be able to clear out some vision on the top side of the mid lane. Clash are not having any of this business. They're like, yo, we're not losing another crystal buff team. We're 5-man in this one.
They are 5-man. Good, because they needed to. But it looks like Sly, they are happy to look for a fight right now. They have level advantage. They have that HP advantage too. And with Ghostwing being up, if they can take this fight and win it, it benefits them in total to win this fight.
That goes over to Agony. So it's a nice snipe out by Agony. I was about to say, like, as that was happening, it's just Kestrel, one of the best when you get into that kind of contest situation, but they drop down immediately onto the Ghostwing. Ghostwing down to 50% health quickly. Clash will move down. Leon's dropping low. Gauntlet comes down out of Just Man. Solicitude. Everybody's inside the Gauntlet.
Oh, that Leon ultimate!
Huge damage. That will control them enough for Clash to come through and play the cleanup game. Double kill comes out for Agony. They only lose Leon, and now it's a very simple Ghostwing take for them. Sneaky would have thrown away his life if he even tried to jump in on that one. A complete disaster.
What did Nomad crucible? Did he crucible something else? Was it the gauntlet, maybe?
Maybe he tried to crucible and everybody runs out of the gauntlet. I don't know.
Well, because yeah, I think that might have been it. I basically just wasn't quite paying attention. I just thought
sometimes in the middle.
Yeah, I just assumed that Clash were walking into their death. So I was like, no, don't worry. This is just going to be an easy int by Clash again.
Leon dropped health super low, right?
Yeah, but Leon dropped in, but he knew that the amount of fortified health he generated would be enough to allow him to channel that ultimate off. That was the key part of that fight. The reason he did it, I assume, is because he saw Nomad, the only Crucible on the team, get burnt, knowing he's going to get an absolute free ultimate off with the fact that he's gone War Tread's Crucible again, giving him that ability to reposition so easily. That was a
honestly,
very heads-up play.
It feels like even if that Crucible gets burned and the verse doesn't land, it's still a good call because you have a lot of other stuns, like you have an Oblivion, you have a Core Collapse, you have Aces High. We'll come back to that as they find Solicitude down in bottom. Solicitude tries to bob and weave, won't be able to dodge the damage coming out. And this will be the score tied up 6-6, 9 minutes in, as net worth lead is now in favor of Clash.
That one swing play was enough to put Clash back in the driving seat. It shows you the differences. That's a
Aces
brilliant
high,
stun.
Onto Cracks, getting blown up, drops into a wicked escapade. War Treads forward. Cracks, there's nowhere to go. As Fontu tries to help his buddy with a little bit of trash talk, but it's going to take more than some harsh words.
Wait a second. Imagination.
I was like, Sneaky, are you going to stay on this? Obviously, Clash see it. They were going to rotate over. And because that T1 turret is still up, they will be able to get out of that one.
Safantu here doing his best to try and clear that wave up. They will be able to save that first tier turret for now. And Clash being as low as they are with a couple of pots burnt here and there, probably just going to look to reset after this, although you can see there is an aggressive push towards this Crystal Treant. And again, it is Solicitude trying to find that snipe with the Glimmer Shot.
Not going to get it. It goes over to Imagination. That's the target that they wanted on. And Clash got to feel good about that one.
Yeah, man. I mean, they've probably been feeling pretty good since that Ghost Wing take. That was a glorious Ghost Wing take for them. And that's allowing them to be super aggressive with these Leon-initiated rotations. Here we go, Solicitude.
Oh, they're getting so sweaty since they lost the early game. Solicitude melted. I'll go ahead and look for more, but this is a tanky Tony. He'll be able to get himself out of that one. That's a War Treads into Verse, plus the whole team just raining damage down. Healing Treant will be taken away. Weapon Treant will be taken away. The Vision that was dropped down by the Gold Oak will be taken out as well. Clash take 2/3 of the bottom jungle, and in fact, they might even get this Gold Oak as well. Tony's going to be forced out of this one. Aces High off the mark, and they indeed get that Gold Oak. A very successful invade. In fact, there was even an engage happening up in top. This is a 2v2, Cracks and Sneaky looking for Leon or Agony. Solar Storm off the mark. I think you got to be careful, Sly. Like, you need to get this and get out. I wouldn't even be here, honestly, right now. Well, maybe that's why I'm not the professional player. They move in. Fairy Dust out from the Flicker, trying to slow up Clash. Doom taking a lot of damage out of Solicitude. Winds up with the one shot. Connects onto Imagination. They juggle the damage. Sneaky trying to get on target. He wants to get stuffed up, but he's hungry, doesn't have the range, and that Gold Oak actually did go over to Clash, I do believe. And so that's going to be a weapon buff. Now, went over to Cracks in the end. And I don't know. Sly get a little bit done, but not enough, was it?
Yeah, I mean, there is no fountain right now for... Or there is, we're working towards a fountain, but there's no that sort of fountain right now. So when they were that low, the only heal that they had was realistically Leon's Gift of Fire, which is obviously, like you know, a very slow heal for a single target. They're going to go for the Ghost Wing on rotation now. They have a couple of those healing flasks left up. They had just reset and bought, which puts them in a strong position. And you can see Sly are still very low at this point in time.
We have a major misstep coming out of Sly. Like, Sneaky, instead of pushing the top lane down, rotates down to his team. Ghost Wing's already taken. They have to win this fight. There's a huge throw. Sneaky able to grab the crystal buff. This is pretty good so far. Solar Storm tears on through Sly. They're all dropping low. Agony into the Drifting Dark. Needs to connect on this Malice and Verdict. He will clip the Flicker, find the kill. Cracks this Fontu. You can't even hang around here. They have to back. This should mean... Well, it would be a turret going down, but Black Claw's on the menu, guys. We're 12.5 minutes in, and this should be a fairly easy take. Do you expect Sly to try and contest this? They are low. This feels so dangerous.
No, I don't think you can contest this if you're Sly. I mean, you have to.
The Leon was dead right there, but he's gonna get Sneaky is stuffed up, pulling Leon. He keeps Leon alive. The one shot still connects. Oh my goodness! Tip Sneaky later.
And Leon can just heal back up with a Gift of Fire now. He's going to get back to a fairly respectable HP. This is no way you can contest this Black Claw.
He was dead, right? Like, he was taunted.
I know, absolutely dead. And it was just an overkill to go for the Grumpjaw ultimate. There was no need for it. It just bought him time to get a Gift of Fire reset.
Oh, man. It's one of those situations where, like, that, you know, your own ability can come back to hurt you. It's tough. Sometimes just knowing... I mean, I'm sure Sneaky knows that in the end, he shouldn't have pulled the trigger on that one. But now they're playing from behind even further. and they really had a great opportunity to take that Adagio and contest that Black Claw even. Without Adagio, this is a very much easier for Sly to get in there. Now, Gauntlet comes down. Sly will be able to slip out of that as the T2 turret does drop down. Sneaky has flank position. His team is pretty low, though, as this first base turret just gets dropped down. It's going to have to be something pretty crazy out of Sly if they're going to contest this successfully.
Leo's looking for the ultimate.
Oh, Aces high into the verse. Good night, Solicitude. Trash Talk will pull I'm the Doom back just a little bit, but there's nothing to follow up. And this feels like an absolute desperation stand. All Clash have to do is just focus down the Vein Crystal if they want to end the game. But how about you pad those stats? Get some more eliminations per game, as they will actually pull Leon and the Arden back into that healing platform. Doesn't matter. Good night, Sly, as the hopes and dreams of all Clash haters melt. Clash take the final series of the VPL Summer Open and take this championship 2-0 in a dominating fashion. Game one, a lot more dominating. Scoundrel.
Yeah, it was a brilliant performance by Clash. I don't think anybody contesting that they are just the best team in Europe right now. Congratulations, they are our European VPL winners. And the only piece of analysis that I'm going to throw in is I like the pulse weave on Sneaky in the top lane, but there needed to be 2 Crucibles versus this team. You needed 2 Crucibles, and that really shut you down early.
Sounds right to me, but we do have 2 analysts, maybe a host and analysts back at the desk. Let's throw it over to them.
Our VPL Summer Open champions for Europe. It is going to be Clash in the end. Massive congratulations to the team. A well-deserved victory.
Yeah, absolutely well-deserved. They have dominated this VPL Summer Open from start to finish, not dropping a single game along the way, barely even looking pressured for most of those games as well.
Absolutely. Thank you once again as well to Humanist and Scoundrel for casting the championship match there, and a phenomenal performance from Clash. Even going down in the early game, but coming back, getting back on top of things and proving their team fight prowess with their team fight composition.
Yeah, they played exactly to their draft. You can see here how it all turned out. We can see Clash sitting alone at the top of the bracket.
It's lonely at the top, but when you've got $3,000 in your pocket, it's not so bad. They are going to be the champions. So we can take a look at how the prizes got spread out. We saw Rising Lotus get the default win against Queso earlier, netting themselves $500. And then we're just seeing Clash manage to defeat Sly in our championship match for that $3,000 prize.
And of course, because of that second place finish, Sly walking away with $1,500 as well. So congratulations to all 3 teams that have placed in the money, but especially congratulations to Clash for that dominating performance.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's just take a moment to appreciate how awesome this first VPL Summer Open has been, especially in Europe. We've seen so many upsets. We've seen so many teams proving themselves, like Rising Lotus and Sly, both way outdoing the expectation. And I'm excited to see what they'll have for us in the future as well. Our top 3 decided, and honestly, surprising results across the board, but Clash, they were the consistent here for Europe. And my question now is, how long will they reign?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the thing. They now are the team with the target on their backs. They're the team that everyone is going to be looking to chase down in Europe. And I can't wait to see who is going to be the next team that steps up to the occasion and challenges Clash for that top spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, in other Vainglory news, Yates is entering the fray once again. He's going to be coming out on Wednesday, and we have a bit of a preview of the hero.
For generations, our people have run from the churn. But now, with Githian steel, Elkin magic, and Seraphim knowledge, my men and I have obliterated the infested lands, making way for those who will end the cycle of devastation forever. If some old trees must fall, if some beasts swear revenge, well, that is the price to be paid for survival.
And Yates will be available in the Autumn Open for the VPL. That'll be starting on the 20th of October, and you guys at home can get involved as well. That's going to be the next for European VPL, because we're at the end of the Summer Open now.
Yeah, and make sure you get on and sign up get your teams together and join the Autumn Open. You can have a chance to get your shot at Clash and try and take them down, but it's all going to be happening in October.
Yeah, absolutely. We've crowned our champions. Clash are going to be able to take the European VPL. So massive congratulations to them. We'll be having a quick preview of what's coming in North America later on today in a minute, but first, a word from Razor. Here is what the bracket looks like right now in North America. Our championship game is going to be Tribe going up against Nova. That's going to be an insane matchup. And we also have our third place match between Ferox and Vision Gaming.
Yeah, absolutely. The third place match is important, but nothing is as important as the championship. And we will be seeing, like you mentioned, Tribe and Nova going head to head. Take a look at a couple interesting stats about these two teams. You can see right now, both of these are orgs that have been part of Vainglory since 3v3.
Yeah, absolutely a battle of veterans here. Tribe yet to lose a game since preseason. That is a long streak. And Nova going to be the ones to hope to break that. But Nova actually finished ahead of Tribe in the preseason. So when you look at these two teams on paper, it's already an incredible matchup.
Yeah.
But then when you look at how they've each been performing across the course of the tournament so far, honestly, I don't even know where to begin with that discussion.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a grudge match as Tribe is going to be looking for revenge for that preseason matchup. And Tribe's also looking to repeat what Clash just did. They just saw Clash run the gauntlet and go undefeated in the Summer Open. They want to have the exact same performance.
Absolutely. Well, that's going to be about it from us here on the EU VPL. We'll be kicking off the North American VPL Championship at midday Pacific Standard Time. That's 12 noon. Make sure that you are there. But until then, we'll say see you later and thanks for watching.